Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome once again to Hang On Supi, a show powered by Scarlet and Gray Sports Radio. I'm your host, Caleb Supi Spinner, and today I have a member of the Ohio State fencing team joining me here on the podcast. It's Edriss Ndiaye. Edriss, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, just some background between you and I. We actually were in the same residence hall last year at Ohio State. We were both residents of Park Stradley, even the same floor, 9, except you were Strad 9 and I was Park 9. Park 9 was always better, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, man, I don't know about that. But, I liked it. It was fun for sure.
So this is something that's fun. I don't think there's a lot known about fencing, so I'm excited to have you on here to talk about that. The research I did for the show, fencing is a fun sport. I used to say it was essentially Pirates of the Caribbean when I was younger. It was the Pirates of the Caribbean sport, with the swords and all the fun stuff. So I'm excited to hear more about it.
I say the same thing.
Glad to know we're on the same page with this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
So before we even get started into anything, I got to read this because on your Ohio State bio, on your athletics page, it says that you got started into fencing, quote, after seeing a sign on the road. What's that story?
Yeah. So literally, so I was like 13 years old and my mom was driving me back from school. And like on this median on a two-way street, I see like this ad and it was like basically like some sort of like promotion for like half off like beginner class for fencing. And in my head, I was like, ooh, like sword fighting? Okay. So I'm like, hey mom, can I try it? She was like, yeah, sure. So like after like I think like a week or 2 weeks after, we just signed up and took a beginner class and never looked back. Very random, but yeah.
But I mean, that random decision paid off. You're one of the top recruits. We'll talk about later where you were coming out of high school and how that didn't really play. That late start, rather, did not really play being a disadvantage in your career here. What led you to choose foil? Now, from what I understand, foil, I would say, is the most accurate, or the one that requires the most accuracy. Because for people who don't know, the target area in foil is just the torso, and you have to poke. You cannot swipe on the sides. So I would argue that has the most accuracy on your lunge. So why did you pick that one?
Well, actually, it's kind of like almost like I didn't really have a choice because the club that I started at had a very predominant foil program. But like, for instance, there was a club 10 minutes away that only had saber, but I didn't know about it. So that ad for that first club was really just a foil club. So I kind of just like, it was the first thing that was put into my hand.
Have you ever experimented with the saber or any of the others?
Yeah, I actually have. Yeah. So I've done saber like 2 or 3 times. And then I actually did epee like for like 1 or 2 bouts I practiced a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago, just for fun. And no, they're all super fun, but I definitely do think that foil is for me for sure.
Epee, I know, is the heaviest of the blades, but has the biggest target area.
Yeah.
And like I said, foil, the lightest, has the most restrictive, and then saber is in the middle of the two, a little bit heavier than foil, but it's the full upper body. So you have now in the 3-on-3
then saber's like a different motion.
In the 3-on-3 competitions, walk me through this. Are the 3 people of each team, are they all in the same discipline, or is it one of each?
Yeah. So, like in that, so are you talking about college meets, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So college meets basically, it's like kind of like a 3-on-3, but it'll be 3 foilists against 3 foilists, 3 saberists against 3 saberists, 3 epeists against like 3 epeists. And so basically, but obviously like how we do as a total, like the amount of wins we have come together as a team. So everybody fences 3 times. And let's say like the saber squad got 2 victories and the other saber squad got 1 victory, but then our foil squad got 4 and then their foil squad got 5, they would probably win. So it's really like, it's like individual weapons for each, like you could say relay or bout, but all the wins and losses count collectively, like by gender.
Okay, that makes a bit of sense. So it's like what we've talked about on the show before. We've talked about swimming and track, which are both individual sports, but the points you earn in the individuals go back to the team. It's something like that, right?
Exactly. 100%. Right on.
So talking more about your journey there, your fencing journey started, your bio says 5 years ago. We've talked with a lot of athletes on the show, baseball, basketball, everything, where starting off early has benefited them. You didn't get that luxury, but it hasn't proven much of a disadvantage to you, has it?
I mean, at some points, yeah, and of course, like still till today, there's still things that I work on that if I had more time, I probably would be better at. But ultimately, I think what got me to this point was mainly like my athleticism, and then getting up to the high level where the one thing that you can't buy with time or that time only allows is experience. So it's seeing various situations and being able to know like how to adjust to them. Which is obviously something that I work on every single day with just like the mental aspect. So, because fencing is a game of strategy, and you really have to like know what you want to do, know what your opponent is doing, and know how to counter it. But like in a split second and many times during the bout. I mean, for me, it was like in the beginning, yeah, it was very hard. It was very frustrating, but that's kind of what's fun about it. It's like it's something to work up to. And coming in as like the underdog, I kind of just like felt like it's like the ceiling is unlimited. You know what I mean? So I was just like, if I just keep working and working and working, there's really nothing that I can't do. And yeah, I mean, there was a point where like when I first started, I would come in 7 days a week. Of course, if I do that now, that's not really healthy. But it just like goes to show like how much I really did want to catch up to everybody else, and if not, be better.
It's a sport that requires a lot of adaptivity. There's not a textbook for if they do this, then this. It's really dealer's choice with what technique you want to use to parry it, right?
For sure. For sure. I mean, it's a part of the sport is like, yeah, there's no textbook. So some of it really has to be like your own intuition, your gut feeling, your instincts, your muscle memory. And then of course there is like the fundamental part where it's like, yeah, learn the basics. Like, oh, this person does this, and I do this. They do this, then I do this. But at the end of the day, what makes a great fencer from a good fencer is someone who can just put it all together naturally.
That natural coming together is something that you talked about, the benefits from experience. Were there ever times where you thought that the gap between you and these fencers who have had years more of experience than you did was too much, and you had ever thought about giving up? And if so, how did you get those out of your head?
I mean, there's definitely been like various like frustrating points or like plateaus that I've hit or walls that I've hit. Have I thought about giving up? Never. I've never thought about giving up. Have I been super frustrated? Of course, like all the time. I mean, it happens. But no, ultimately, like there was one time where I was going for the national team and I'd missed it by like 2 spots. That crushed me. But I took the time off and did what I had to do to like get back. But no, I mean, I think since it's like when you come into the sport like with not much experience, it's not like anyone expects anything like high of you. So I think it was like really just proving to myself and like continuing to prove to myself that I can get better and that I can like get these results and I can do these things is really what like kept me going. Because at the end of the day, like if I worried about like what other people are doing or their experience or like, yeah, how long they've been fencing, then I'm not going to get better, because what am I doing sitting there worrying about someone else when I should be worried about my own training?
Right. It's the control what you can control mindset. I don't get any better. If let's just say basketball, for an example, I don't get any better at basketball focusing on how much better LeBron is than me, right? It's that, where are my own weaknesses? Where are my own challenges, shortcomings, and how can I improve them or get better in them, right? Instead of just saying, oh, somebody's so much better than me, I'm just not even going to try. You talked about going in 7 days a week, something that you started off doing, something that you don't really do anymore now, because of where you are in your fencing career. But what were some of the other things like that you did starting off to get yourself and try to make up some of that gap that you had coming into the sport late?
I would say, all right, so I think something that had set me apart, like when I was younger and I had first started, was number one, I would ask a lot of questions. So I would go up to like all the good guys on my club or like competitions, and I was asking like a crap ton of questions to the point where it was probably annoying. But so in our beginner class, there was probably about like 12 people. So before you're allowed to like start open fencing, you have to do the beginner class and go through the process where you learn the footwork, safety stuff, basic blade work. So like the basic like blocking moves, stuff like that. The rules of fencing, because obviously there's a lot of rules. But the second I got out of that beginner class, a lot of the people who were in my class, they were kind of scared to go and like fence like the older guys and stuff. For me, I would go up and like annoy them until they would fence me. And it was really by losing like 15-0 all the time and really just like getting my tail kicked like consistently that's like kind of what set me apart, because it kind of like I only realized this after, because at the time I was just like trying to go see if I could beat the best person. I'm just very competitive like by nature. So I wasn't really thinking about it like that. But then now that I look back at it, I was like, yeah, that's the reason why. It's because I just wanted to learn, and I wasn't afraid to lose, and I wasn't afraid to like learn a lesson, because in every loss is a lesson. So it was really by just getting whooped, to be honest.
In every loss, there's a lesson. I like that. I'll add that to my list of inspirational quotes there. The first time I really read about you, aside from, hanging out with you over the semester, was in the interview with the Lantern. And in that interview, you said that Coach Ronaldo Tucker was one of your biggest supporters in this endeavor. How did he push you to be one of the best fencers in the sport?
So for Rolando, all right, so quick background. So Rolando was on the Cuban national team, and he had many accomplishments, like so many. Olympic bronze medal, I presume, always like consistently like top 4, top 5 in the world. I'm pretty sure at some point number 1, number 2. And he's like a legend. So the coach at Ohio State, Elvis Gregory Gill, he was on the Cuban national team with Rolando. Okay, so basically, which is like kind of like the main reason I came here, because similar coaching styles, they know each other very well. So it's like a very good way to like create like a collective coaching environment, because someone who I worked with for about 3 years and then coming into here kind of transfers over. Rolando really taught me the next level of fencing. I had a coach before who had taught me like the basics and helped me get to like a good point. But Rolando just like kind of took it to another level. He taught me not only like intelligence on the strip, but also like intelligence off the strip. So like emotional intelligence, stuff like that. So really teaching me how to be able to learn from what I'm doing, how to think, how to recover. Like really taught me the basics, but like again, so he kind of taught me like the fundamentals, but his way. And him and I, so we're both left-handed, we're both the same height, we both have like the same like physical features. So for us, it was kind of like he was basically showing me how he used to do things and how people of my body type can kind of do the same things that he did. And it really just helped me. It really helped show me like variety. So he really taught me like how to do like various different things and various change-ups, because before coming to him, there's probably 2 things that I used to do. It was just attack people really fast, and when people come at me, just try to block the blade. But he really taught me so many ways on how to do different things. So it really helped me like broaden my fencing for sure.
It's the fundamentals with sprinkles on top, right? It's the same stuff that you had learned, but it's in a different way and with some more emphasis on the different things, right? There's multiple ways to learn fundamentals, and it sounds like his style, which basically essentially was him teaching a younger version of himself, really is what stuck with you and helped you with this.
Yeah.
Now, when it came time to test your skills, Rolando took you to a lot of international competitions. Why was there such a stress on doing the overseas competition instead of domestics, or was it just what was available?
Yeah, so basically it kind of works differently than other sports. Actually, I'm not sure, because I'm pretty sure like all sports have like a similar system for that. So if you want to compete internationally, you have to be like in the top 12 nationally. So once I had gotten enough national results to put myself into that top 12 ranking, the next level was just competing internationally and trying to make the national team. So so I think I was like 15 or 16 when I had reached that point. So that season, it was my first international season. I did all the cadets, so under 17 World Cups. And what pushed me for that was just really like, I mean, there's so many levels to where you can go. And I was like, I'm not just going to stop at the national level. And if I have the opportunity and the blessing to be able to go to other countries and have those experiences, I'm going to take it and do my best.
Now, there's a little bit of a difference now to this next question, now that I know that you have to be so good at one to even qualify for the internationals. But which did you enjoy more, the international or the domestic competitions?
Ooh, that's a very good question. To be honest, I mean, obviously, like it's more fun like traveling, but like it's also stressful because you're only there for like 3 days. You get there the evening before, you sleep, but you're jet lagged, your sleep schedule is like all messed up. You wake up the next morning, you fence, and then after that, you might go to dinner in like downtown of whatever city you're in and have fun and go explore some things. But then you're out the next morning because you have to go to school. So I would say it's a lot of fun, but after a while, it gets like very like intense and very tiring. And then, to be honest, I think that the best ones were the internationals because they're harder. So it was like more for me to learn from, because now you're seeing how people fence from like 50 different countries. So I would say I would enjoy the international competitions more because they're hard.
That makes sense. And it's not like traveling internationally for recreation, right? This is work. So you're having to get to bed at a responsible time. You don't really get to enjoy all that a country has to offer because you have to be in bed at times. You have to be training in certain instances. You're competing all day. So it's a little different when you're thinking of international travel for fencing versus going on holiday. That makes sense why you'd like those better though, with the talent wise.
For sure.
Now, in order to get these tournaments, once again, going back to the Lantern article, you mentioned your mother was your biggest supporter, emotionally, of course, as all mothers are, but also financially. How did her support in this way kind of validate that that you were on the right path, despite starting fencing so much later than everybody else, that you were on the right path and that she supported you in this way?
Yeah, I think number one, her believing in me. I mean, she had to make a lot of sacrifices financially and like beyond what one could imagine. You know, it was a lot. It was very hard. It still is. But really, her really taking that risk and doing all that so that I could achieve my dream is really something that put and still leaves a chip on my shoulder for sure.
Just to make sure that, you know, what the effort that she put in is not going to waste it. Is that why there's the chip?
Yes, for sure. And obviously I do it for myself as well, but she's definitely a big part of my why. Yeah.
Right. I mean, doing it for yourself is one thing, doing it for your school is another, but when you have a family member or just anybody in general who's poured that much financial support into it, there's that added, I don't want to say pressure, because I feel like pressure is a negative term in this instance, but there's that added goal. There's that added goal to want to do better just for them, right?
I would say motivation, actually, instead of like, I would actually just say added motivation.
Among your merits for international competition are 16 place finishes in the April Division 1 Championship, the San Jose, Junior World Cup, and the Cadet European Circuit, which you talked about a little bit. How do you think these finishes kind of bolstered you when it came to picking a college where to go to? How do you think they set your resume apart from others?
Honestly, so just by like my national events and like the ranking that I developed and the several accomplishments I had from there, I was kind of already set up for it. But then I think by showing that I could compete at that level and hold my own and progress each time, because I had done like 6 or 7, and every single time I did better. It was never up and down. It was just always like I was consistently better. I think it just showed my potential, and it really just showed like that if you put me in a tough situation, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to fight. And that's what these coaches are looking for. They're looking for someone who's going to come work hard and who's motivated. And that's what I show.
Of course, arguably the highlight of your competitive career has been that third place bronze medal you have from the Junior Olympics. Walk me through that experience and the journey to the podium in that competition.
Yeah. So that competition, that was like 2 years ago. Actually, so recently we just had like a similar event where I actually got third place again like a month ago. So those are like both like the same. I honestly, it's kind of crazy. I really do not remember too much from the Junior Olympics. It was honestly, whenever I walk into like a competition, I kind of just treat it like a normal day. There was nothing really like, I don't know. There was nothing really like that stood out so much from the fact that I was just really focused, to be honest. I mean, there were various hard bouts. I had fenced like a lot of good people, but I think what set me apart in that one was just that like I really was present. I think something that I've been working on that I struggled with is being present and also being anxious. And that was like the competition where I really started to like let a lot of that go. Being present as in like really just focusing on the person in front of me and nothing else is going on around me. And then also just like being confident in my training, or like being confident in the things I could control, which kind of propelled me to do well there. So I really just felt put together, and that's why I was just able to do so well.
And you see that, in your college career, as soon as you step on the strip, from what I've seen, there's nothing else. It's as if there are walls on the sides of the strip, and just the world is shut out. It's impressive to see. So now let's get into Supi's speed round. For those listeners who don't know what this segment is yet, this is our version of the 30 questions in 30 seconds. I like to think these are a little more thought-provoking, so I give guests 45 seconds. There is no leaderboard. We're not keeping track of how many questions you can get done in this time. The pressure of the time is only to force the top answer off your head. There is nothing writing on this. This is just a get to know you segment. So if you're ready, I will set my timer here on my phone, which I don't know if you saw from the back, but you can tell from my phone case, I am a Browns fan. So I will set this here and get this going. All right. So we will start in 3, 2, 1. Name something on your bucket list.
Hot air balloon.
Name someone you admire.
My mom.
What is your favorite movie?
Castaway with Tom Hanks.
Name something about yourself many would consider dorky.
I'm very much into flight simulators.
Name a store you love to shop at.
Ooh, Nike.
What's your favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn?
Spider-Man.
And then lastly, what would you name your yacht?
Oh, that's a hard one. Gilbert.
Gilbert. What is there? I would have figured with the Castaway reference, it would be Wilson.
I don't know. My favorite fish, his name was Gilbert. So like I always said like the next thing, like my car's name is Gilbert, I'd probably name it Gilbert 2.0. I don't know why. I had a fish that died after like 6 years. His name was Gilbert. Yeah.
That makes sense. I guess if you named it Wilson, there's that risk that you'd lose it at sea in a storm. So that makes sense.
Oh God, yeah. We don't want to think about that. We don't want that to happen. You have to be money. It costs a lot of money.
I'm also a big fan of that movie. I haven't seen it recently though. I might have to give it a rewatch after this.
And I was thinking about that for next weekend, actually. Recently, that's kind of funny.
Is to
seen it
rewatch
like 4 or
that
5
movie?
years.
We saw.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
now that everybody's home at our house, my brother's getting ready to go off to college, so this is kind of our last summer to like really spend it with each other. So we've been having a lot of movie nights, and we watched Nobody, that recent one that came out from the producers of John Wick. That is very good. It's absolutely different than Castaway, but it's very good.
I might actually watch that. I actually have a little bit of time tonight. I might actually get into that. It's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on. We have Prime. We had it on Prime, but it's a very good movie.
Right. I can endorse that one. All right,
I can endorse that one wholeheartedly. Yeah.
All right,
that's my role on this show. That's my role on this show is now host and movie recommender. That's what I boiled myself down to.
We'll see if it's that fire.
So let's take Gilbert, our yacht, and let's get him back on course here. As one of the top 10 recruits in the sport coming out of high school, you were given offers defense at many of the top institutions. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 4, St. John's. Number 5, Ohio State. Number 7, Penn State. In the end, you chose defense for the Buckeyes. What was it about the Buckeye fencing program that set it apart?
Well, there's a lot of things I was looking for in the school. It was mainly like the environment, obviously the coaching, the team, all that. With Ohio State, the diversity, the big campus, I fell in love with it immediately. Like I said before, the main reason I chose Ohio State though was because our foil coach Elvis was on the national team with my coach back home, so I knew it was going to be a perfect fit. And something with picking colleges, it was very scary because a lot of people when they go to school, they either fall off the national circuit and just focus on college fencing, or they kind of just like go down completely because it's totally different from what you're used to back home. And something that I felt very confident about here was that I'd be able to keep on the same track and that they'd be able to support me in college fencing, but also like my national and international fencing. And that they really made me feel like they could bring me to that next level and take me all the way.
Now, just a clarifying question: why would somebody fall off going to college? Not challenging you, just wanted to understand more. What are some of the challenges balancing those two?
Well, in college, it's a little different. Obviously, it's a business. And basically, if you're not one of the ones usually like fencing, like actively, you're usually like in the reserve. And it can be challenging. It can be like unmotivating at times. It's set up differently, right? So this time you're not on your own schedule. Now you're on a fixed schedule. You're training with other people. You're lifting as a team. You're not lifting individually. You kind of, in a way, don't have as much control over your training because obviously the coach is going to do what's best for the team. So it really just comes down to seeing like if it's best fit for you. And for some people, it's not.
It's just the difference of priorities. We've talked about it on the show. Usually it'll be balancing school and athletics, but in this case, international and national competitions, it's just sometimes you don't have time for both.
Yeah. And Ohio State has really helped me like in every single way. They've made it super easy to do. So, and I knew they would compared to other schools.
Also, from what I understand, your desire to come to Ohio State had other incentives aside from athletics. What were some of those studying at Ohio State?
Yeah, so definitely the business program. I mean, I'm in Fisher and I had done my research. And obviously, like a lot of the fencing schools, they have like really great schools. But it was, yeah, just really being confident that I'd be able to have a great life on and off the fencing strip. Obviously, there's like a lot of resources here that we have. And that's also really promising. And really, it's just kind of impossible to fail because you have everything that you need to succeed right in front of you. So it's just up to you to use it.
And from what I understand, you want your time at Fisher to end with you owning your own business. Do you have any idea of what you want that business to be, or is that kind of what you're developing at your time?
Well, till now, it's kind of just like a dream. I mean, it's like a dream of mine, which is to own my own business. Obviously, I've done like a lot of research over like various different industries that I'd want to go into and stuff like that. But no, ultimately, it's like, yeah, really learning how to like be able to run my own business. And then also, I'm still like I still haven't exactly specialized like what I want to do yet because I didn't really know how much like Fisher have to offer. So there's like marketing, there's finance, real estate, all those things that I'm into. So right now, it's kind of just up in the air. And my goal is to just basically try to grab some internships for next summer because this summer is different because of COVID. We're still competing and I didn't really have time. But yeah, just really grab internships in different fields and really tiptoe and see like what I'm best fit for. But yeah, it's kind of up in the air now for sure.
It's that the golden side of having such a diverse program at Ohio State is you can specialize down to the letter of what you want to do. But that's the other side is there's so many to pick from.
Yeah, which makes it harder, but it's also promising because I really know that once I figure out what I truly want to do, this is the place to do it, which is awesome.
Hypothetically, though, since I know you don't know exactly what you want this business to be, would you want to be more of the manager of the business or somebody who works in the day-to-day? Like, let's say it's a cake shop, for instance. Are you going to be the manager of that cake shop, or are you going to be the guy who bakes and ices with his workers?
I would like to say, well, when you say it like that, I'd be one who can do both because I'd obviously want to be involved with the people that work with me. But I would say that naturally, I feel like I'd thrive in a leadership role for sure. Yeah.
With the pandemic, you mentioned you just started talking about how this summer's different due to the pandemic. You're still competing. This season has had numerous guidelines to even happen, and it's been absolutely different. You and I both finished our freshman year, so we haven't really seen a normal year at Ohio State firsthand. So it's tough to judge what a normal year of college is versus what's so different about this year. But there were a lot of things that you had to do and that your team had to follow. Tell me about some of the challenges and the adjustments that you guys had to make as a team and how those kind of brought you together in working through those.
I mean, there was a lot. It's been a roller coaster. I swear there was a point where every week or every other week we were getting new news and new protocols, something to do. I mean, there's testing. We had early testing up until recently because we just got vaccinated, but early testing like 3 times a week, like 7 a.m. I had gotten COVID, and that was a whole another ordeal. Got COVID twice actually somehow. I don't even know how that happened, but um, yeah, training with the mask on was brutal. Being socially distant, inconsistent practice times was rough because obviously like there's a bunch of different teams throughout the entire school trying to use facilities, but we had to like break each other into groups because like not all 30, 40 of us can be in one place at one time. So I didn't really get to like meet like a lot of my teammates because we were all training at like separate times. um yeah, I mean, it was a lot, but what really keeps it going is just kind of focusing on getting how to the best way to get the next touch. So it's really like my coach helped me a lot with that, just because like I'm still was and still I'm just like kind of locked in on what I'm doing. So no matter what, I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to compete and the opportunity to practice because a lot of people around the world do not. So
Now, were you guys in French or were you in Cavelli, Schumacher? Where were you guys?
so like where we practice.
Yes.
All right, so we compete at the French Field House usually. We lift at the Shoemaker and condition at the French Field House, but we fence at Steelwood. So that's where like gymnastics and dance is as well.
Okay. Okay. I knew you practiced somewhere up there, Ohio State. For those people who don't know, we kind of have all the athletic facilities in the same region of campus. So especially with basketball, who played in the Cavelli Center, which I know is usually home to wrestling, I've been able to see the little bit of flip flopping in the different arenas that people have had. So those practice times, that's going to be tough adapting, especially with sleep and school and schedule management, right?
Yeah, no, it was super rough. I did take mostly like asynchronous classes, which I'm very glad I did because like a lot of my teammates didn't. They'd have to like leave early and stuff. And before like any rules were set, because we didn't even until football got put back on, we didn't even know we were going to have practice, to be honest. But in the anticipation of that, I had made all my classes asynchronous so that I wouldn't have any like time constraints or have to be on a Zoom at a certain time because I knew that if I did, then I'd miss practice. And at the end of the day, obviously I care about both, but I don't want to miss practice. I would do anything I can to not. So,
did you ever miss the live class environment?
no, I mean, to be honest, like, uh, I miss a live class environment, but I don't want to have it on Zoom for sure. So for me, it's just as easy doing asynchronous but it'd be harder for me doing Zoom because I cannot pay attention to someone talking for like an hour and a half and having to like take notes and stuff like over a screen. That's not like how I am. So I definitely actually did prefer the asynchronous. And because of like in high school, I was always traveling and stuff. I'm kind of used to like not procrastinating and doing things on time and doing things like at my own schedule. So I had like an agenda book where I have like different tasks that I do for the day. So I'm the kind of person, let's say I have like a 5-page paper, right? And it was given to us Monday and it's due Sunday. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like a page every day. I'm not just gonna do the 5-page paper on Sunday. So
Yeah.
using like that kind of like that method, it helped everything go by super easy.
It really sounds like you utilized the resources that Ohio State had for you this year and put them to the fullest extent of what they were intended for.
Yeah.
That speaks
For sure.
a lot to how you manage your schedule and what you look for, and that you're looking ahead rather at what you think will be better. Was balancing class in this environment with the new adjustments with your season, was that the biggest challenge of this year, or was there something else? And how did you get past that?
Well, obviously there was a lot of challenges this year. I'd say the biggest challenge for me was my COVID run-ins. That was pretty hard. And then also kind of just it was challenging in the beginning, just getting used to like the practice schedule and all that kind of stuff. Like it's not easy. It's intense. So getting adjusted like physically, it really taught me like how to take care of myself, eating better, sleeping more, stretching more, stuff like that. With classes, I mean, I've always had like pretty like good time management, I'd like to say. Obviously, like it's freshman year, so my classes weren't like crazy hard. So I don't want to speak too soon on that. But for now, as of this year, it was very like manageable. But I know it's only going to get harder. So
last thing, I'll leave you with this. Looking ahead to next season, I know this one's not quite done yet, but what are some of the goals you have for both for next season and for your future career with the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Yeah, so well, right now, like the collegiate season's over. It's just like the national fencing like season. So really trying to make the junior national team is like my goal for like the next year. That's something that I'm working on like right now. Ultimately, I want to make the Olympics like when I graduate. 2024 is also like the next Olympics, hopefully. So that's like a dream of mine, and it's something that I think I can do and that I have here. I also, on the Ohio State side, I really, really, really want to make at least top 3 at NCAA championships and get that All-American title. We couldn't go this year, unfortunately. So I really do, because of like some stuff that happened with coaching and all that. Like it was like basically we had to take like a postseason ban, and we said might as well do it during the COVID year because a lot of other teams couldn't show up to the championships. So I really do want that All-American title, if not a championship, for sure.
And that, if I'm right, because I've kind of my Olympics has been thrown off since we didn't have one last year, and now the 4-year cycle is going to be thrown off. But I believe 2024 is in LA, which is good that it's in the US, but it puts you pretty much the furthest spot you can be from your home in Rockville.
I know. I mean, to be honest, like through high school, I was like never home. I was always traveling, and even now I haven't been able to go home since winter. And during the winter, I went home for a week just because I wanted to stay here and practice. But yeah, I mean, I do miss home, but I know my parents weren't really able to like travel with me like internationally, like ever, like when I like for fencing competitions. So that's definitely like one that I hope they can for sure come to.
I'm sure the Olympic committee would put something together to make sure that they're there cheering you on if you make the Olympic
Hopefully.
team. Edriss, it's been amazing talking with you. Thanks for coming on the show, and I look forward to staying in touch with you, man.
Thank you. Awesome talk.
Make sure you're tuning in to Hang On Supi. The episode of the weekly show in the podcast form releases on Wednesday on scarletandgraysportsradio.com and on the SGSR SoundCloud page. And if you like to watch instead of listen, the video version of the episode releases on IGTV and our YouTube channel at 6 a.m. on Friday. So make sure you're tuning into the show in whichever way you find best fit for you. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the Instagram or the Instagram channel at Hang On Supi. We have our summer giveaway still in full effect. Once we get to 800 followers on our Instagram page, we are giving away 3 $50 Amazon gift cards for those of you who love to shop on Amazon. I know I do. I know Edriss does as well. That'll get you a lot of movies on Amazon Prime
sure.
as one of those 3 $50 Amazon cards. So make sure you're following our page on Instagram and staying in touch with the show. That's the best way to get behind the scenes information on that. I'll see you next week on another episode of Hang On Supi, but until then, I'm Caleb Spinner. That's the show. I'm out of here.